welcome back to the practice rounds. Today we are in Burlington, Kentucky, playing the Idlewild Open. We're practicing the course. I want to show you guys how I play and how I dissect the course. Thanks again and enjoy. Let's throw a couple warm-ups here. All right, for one, we're going with the ride. Ooh, caught the last tree, but we're throwing. Hole one's a very unique hole. It's definitely a reachable par 4, I would say, but yeah, it just depends on the wind. So like the first two I threw a mid-range. That's a very viable option considering there's lots of OB if you hyzer out, and if you get turned to the right, there's some tough spots you can get into. And I think out here it's really controlled distance. It's not really just raw distance. You have to control your angles. You have to control your where you're finishing 400, 450 feet down the fairway. And this is probably one of the least wooded holes on the course. So it's nice to start off with, I'm not gonna say gimme birdie, but it's close as you can get out here to a easier birdie. Yeah, this place is awesome. I think every year you see little improvements. This year they kind of cleaned out some of the woods just to give it a better spectator experience. So they're always doing stuff for the sport here in northern Kentucky, southern Ohio. The community's great. I'm from Ohio, so I feel like I have a lot of fans that I haven't seen for a while and from my hometown that come support me, and super thankful for that. And we're just thankful to have this property, a very unique property that challenges. I feel like it's kind of like a Northwoods Black type of style with that challenge. Lots of par 4s and 5s through the woods, snaking, and you got to make angles, you got to make shots. I think that's why our players love it. I'm gonna throw one from here because I mean, if it's windy enough or anything like that, I definitely might just throw a mid-range actually. So it's not like that far out of the game plan. Let's see here. So I'm just gonna throw a slammer. We got a fast green behind, so I'm just gonna work on just getting a little bit nose up so that way it kind of stalls it out and doesn't glide past the basket. So I'm just thinking about speed control, which speed control, I control the nose angle, and that's gonna control my speed. So there we go, just like that. And I also threw a slammer. I would normally throw a harp for upshots, forehand upshots, but the slammer is such a good distance control disc. As you saw there, it glided out and then started dying and fading towards the basket. And that's what I like so much about the slammer, is it doesn't go 250, 300 feet. It just goes 150 to 200, maybe 220 if I really throw it hard. And so I got that distance dialed with that disc. And here's where my drive landed. It hit the tree. So as you can see, I hit the tree almost 10 feet in the air. So if I turn this disc over, it definitely can get a long look at a eagle too. Then yeah, so you got that kind of guardian tree over there to the right. So a lot of discs are gonna kind of filter back over this way just because it's the safer side of the green. So as you know, I'm really gonna focus on putting from the side where I have the most chance to land in the tournament. And yeah, that's kind of been my forte, as you guys know. I don't necessarily play my practice rounds to keep a score, but I play my practice rounds to build confidence going into the tournament. I'm not like, hey, I shot 8 or 9 under. You don't put your pressure on yourself that way. You just build confidence with each shot. Hey, I got my landing zones. I got my muscle memory for that shot figured out. Because I know a lot of people get so caught up on, oh, what was your practice round score? Like, no, I think more importantly, build on each shot, build on each throw, and build that confidence going into the tournament. Because today's only Tuesday. Got a couple more days of building that muscle memory. All right, hole 2, we got a 601 foot par 4. It's pretty much straight. We got a pond and we got kind of a middle tree that separates the left and right fairway. So you got to make your choice. I like to go the flex route left of the tree. But if you're a hyzer flip forehand thrower, a lot of them like to go right of the tree. Just fits the shot shape better. So I'm gonna try to go left of the tree with Lucid Orbit Ice Enforcer. I've been really liking these, especially on the flex line. They can handle some torque, they can handle some power. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw a couple of these down the left gap. So I'm gonna try to flex one down the left gap. As you can see, that tree in the middle kind of separates the fairway. So I'm really focused on hitting my angle left of that tree. And that's really all I'm thinking about. Left of the tree with a little bit of flex, and that should be a good shot. Just like that. That's pretty much golden. So that's exactly what I'm looking for. So now you kind of see why I want to go left of the tree. A lot of people that hyzer flip, they just got to go almost, I don't like it because you almost got to feel like you're going to hit this tree right in front of you and flip right past it and then kind of, so it just adds an extra tree in the fairway, whereas this shot, really that middle tree is the only one I'm competing with for the most part. Obviously, it's, you know, if I throw a bad shot, there's other trees in the way, but if I throw a good shot, that's really the only one I have to miss. So the same shot twice in a row. So those discs are pretty much the exact same result. And so yeah, I'm gonna go left of the tree and then we'll throw from the landing zone. So now we're walking up to this tree, which is the main tree in the fairway that forces you to have to make the decision to either flex left of it or go right of it. But like I said, I went left of it with both of my shots. I feel like the most open airspace is over to the left. And that just seems to set me up in a good landing zone, which I'll show you guys in a second. All right, so I actually just learned something on this hole. These are my two drives, pretty much the exact same spot, but there's a big old bush right in front of me that kind of sticks up. And so I threw an enforcer. I might actually downgrade to like a criminal or a felon so I can land a little shorter, because the farther I am, the more this bush is in the way. But if I go about 20 or 30 feet back, the way the hill's placed, this bush really isn't in my way. So I'm still gonna throw a shot from here, but I'm definitely gonna be making mental notes when I come play this hole in the tournament that I don't want to be behind this bush, and that's exactly where I am here. So I'm gonna throw a couple forehand harps on this basket. I like the forehand because there's water left, so I'm gonna throw the forehand to land flat, and there's more room for air with the forehand, because if a hyzer's out, you're still safe. If you hyzer out a backhand, you're in the water getting an automatic bogey pretty much. So throw a couple forehand harps and see how the disc reacts up there on the green. So I did hit that bush right in front of me, so it is obviously in play. I'm gonna throw one more. That one's way better. So I hit the gap and kind of trickled at the end towards it. So that second one's the play. But I'm hoping to throw my drive in a better position so the bush isn't in play. So this is where I hit the bush and kind of landed safe. This is the FPO basket, but obviously we're not playing to that. And from here, it's such a sloped green and a death putt that I'll just be playing for par. So I'm gonna go to where my good shots normally land and then take some putts from there. So you can see the green's pretty daunting. And so yeah, that's why I like the forehand, because the forehand's kind of fading into the hill, whereas the backhand's gonna want to fade and feed towards the water, and I never want to do that. So that's how you play hole 2. All right, hole 3, we got another par 4. We got 656 feet. We got a straight shot for about 150, 200 feet, and then it starts doglegging hard right. And I'm gonna go with a backhand roller. So that's the common play to get into the best position, because we got a low ceiling. So it's hard to get a glide on like an anhyzer. A lot of them want to burn out. So I'm gonna go with the roller, and I want to just miss this last tree on the right and kind of just start fading and turning on its top as far as the roller goes back to the right. So we got the hill kind of pushing this way, so you want to throw extra flippy because gravity's going to want to take your disc this way, but you actually want to go right. So that just means I'm going to throw a flippier disc to counteract the hill and really just go right, because there's nothing wrong with going as far right as possible once you get through the gap. So get through the gap and then as far right as possible. That's kind of what I'm thinking. And I'm going to want to land on the kind of right center of this gap, because it's going to want to shoot left because of the hill. And you'll see what I'm talking about once I throw the shot here. Oh, I slipped a little. So I caught that limb. It's kind of like, mostly because of a slip, but that was actually a good release after the slip. But yeah, normally what happens is you go out, you hit the hill, kind of turns left, and then kind of banks back on this top. But I'm gonna throw a couple forehands also, just to kind of see where that lands me compared to where my rollers normally land. So yeah, that's a pretty good spot. I mean, it's hard to get too much distance with the sidearm, and that's why I normally go roller. But obviously I don't have that disc because I threw it the first time. But I'm gonna throw one more. This tee pad is super slippery. I've slipped every time. So I'm gonna kind of slow down my run up a little bit, get more a little in control. There we go, that's good. So that's really good. Slowed down my footwork, didn't slip, and the forehands worked out. This is where the forehands land. The roller, when it doesn't hit an invisible limb like I hit off the tee, normally they kind of land down there is kind of the sweet spot for the roller. And this is kind of the sweet spot for the forehand. So it's just a preference. I'll probably end up going the roller and just pay more attention to the limb that I hit and avoid that. But yeah, this one got a little bit of a tough green up there. We got those little, I don't know, that looks like corn, but it's not corn. Bushy trees, and then you got the ceiling, so it makes it hard. So you can't necessarily just blast it really high because they got the limbs. So it definitely makes you think. I'm gonna try to throw it a little bit high because I'd rather test the ceiling up high rather than going short into that bush every time. So I'm gonna go with the criminal. I'm gonna try to flex it over top of that long grass because we got a backstop kind of behind the basket, so I can go long and be no problems there. So that looks really good. So yeah, that's golden. I hit the gap, went over the little corn plant things, and skipped up to the basket. So I'm gonna go one more. We also have a crosswind, and we have a cross hill going this way. So there's a lot of stuff pushing left. And so I'm gonna counter that by throwing a little bit more stable and throwing a little bit further of a disc than I normally would because I'm going uphill. And that's gonna kill your momentum just that little bit. And it could take 20, 30 feet off if you're not really careful. And so I want to counter that by just throwing a faster disc and throwing the same speed as I normally would without an uphill run up. Similar, I'm testing the ceiling high on this one. Okay, so that was good. So you saw I went way over the top of the grass, but I also tested the ceiling high, and I didn't hit it. So I know I can throw this shot pretty high, and I know I want to because, like I said, if you go on that grass, you have no putt and it's automatic pitch up with no chance for birdie. Okay, so here's my first one. Pretty good shot overall. Yeah, I just kind of went over top, kind of hyzered over the ceiling of the grass, and then kind of came right here. So there you have it. I'm going forehand rive, forehand criminal, and hopefully a tap-in birdie putt. All right, hole 4, 722 foot par 4. We got a double pond, one off the tee, one on the second shot. The one on the second shot's probably more in play, but we got a left to right crosswind, and we're gonna try to throw a nice hyzer flip to flat, or like a flex shot that just kind of lands flat. You pretty much want to pick your aiming point, pick a straight flight that you know you can land about flat, about 400 to 420 down the fairway and pretty straight. Because if you hyzer off left, you're gonna have a tough angle with a bunch of trees and a pond. Makes the upshot really hard. So hitting the fairway is crucial here. I'm gonna go with 2 criminals, and I'm also gonna go with the felon and see where that puts me. Yeah, so I'm gonna go with the criminal because we have a left to right. I don't normally throw a criminal for a straight shot, but I'm gonna throw it now just because I have the left to right wind to keep it straight. So I'm kind of going towards the camera guy is a good spot. So that one's a little low. I'm gonna try one more. I'm gonna go with the felon this time, a little more glide and throw it higher so I can get more distance. That one's better, way better. So it's a little left still, but it's a good solid spot to be in. I'm gonna try one more. This one's gonna try hopefully turn a little bit more than both of those. There we go. Oh, too much turn. Okay, that made it sound like it got through a little bit, but yeah, we'll see where that puts us. This one hyzered off too much, and you can see now I have almost essentially no angle here. And there's a pond and a bunch of trees, but I'm gonna try to flex one through this gap and give myself a putt and at least get across the pond here. But yeah, as you can see, I kind of paid the price for hyzering out because I'm not lined up with the gap. If you're straight, you're lined up with the gap and it's a lot easier. There's still trees, but it's easier. Oh, there we go, I peered it. That was a great shot. But yeah, it made it way harder. If I was here versus if I'm over here, you can see how much more open this gap is. And yeah, I gotta find my third shot as well. Third shot was pretty solid. It was landed here. And I'm throwing a criminal, which is a slower speed, obviously, because if I throw a max power shot, I bring that pond into play on the first shot. And I just want to give myself a nice safe lie back here with a nice, nicely lined up with the fairway so I can throw a shot. I don't want to risk going in the pond. So that's why I'm throwing a little slower speed disc. I parked my upshot, but I'm not going to putt from there. I'm going to putt from a little more challenging, shorter from the pin and a little uphill. I feel like that's a little more likely to happen. So a little more uphill than it looks here. So that first one I just kind of didn't judge the uphill putt as much as I should have, and the second one I just made it a higher release. And so that's kind of what I'm dialing in when I see these uphill baskets like this. I just feel the release, and that way if I land somewhere near here, I know how my release has to come out based on this uphill lie I got here. So uphill lie, it's only 34 feet, but it's gonna feel like it's longer because of how high in the air I'm gonna wanna put it. All right, hole 5, we got a par 3, we got 432 feet. We got the lake on the left. This is a tricky hole. I would say this is probably as close as it gets to a bonus birdie, just because of how close the basket is. We got wind, we got the side slope. If you lose your disc left of the basket at all, it's gone forever, unless someone finds it, which happens out here. But I think this hole's hard because it really takes your perfectly broken in distance driver where it's like not super overstable, but it's like a little bit broken in where you can get some glide first and then stable out. And that's this cotton candy enforcer for me. I'm gonna kind of just, and you have to really trust it, especially with a crosswind. You kind of got to trust it over the water and trust that the wind's gonna turn it. And like I said, you're still going 432 feet uphill, so it's playing more like 440, 450. So this is a total trust shot. And if you bail out to the right, it's not gonna necessarily be a horrible shot. It's definitely the place to miss. So I'm gonna try to throw a semi-aggressive shot, and I definitely am gonna favor to the right because there's no airspace on the left. You're in the water. So I just aired left, and it looks like I'm gonna be in the water, hopefully. Not hopefully, but I think I'll be able to get that back. But you see how easy it is to just hyzer right in the water. I'm gonna throw one more, and I'm gonna try to turn it a little bit more and get myself a little bit more turn on the land before I kind of start hyzering. See, that's a natural shot just because it's water, and I mean, that's really fine. In the tournament, if it's windy like this, I'm probably not even gonna be aggressive at it. And honestly, I'm just gonna take a sidearm, throw a hyzer, and play for a 3 because this hole can definitely, it's really easy to bogey it. So I'd probably just do something like that, play a nice safe sidearm hyzer, and then chip up from there. That's the safe play and the tournament play. All right, so here's the bailout. The very common play is bail out to the right and then have this kind of upshot on a tricky side slope. I'm gonna just throw a slammer, kind of start it at this tree line, just let it fade back towards the basket. So just like that. I like the slow speed of the slammer because it's not gonna glide and go too far past and potentially go in the water. But yeah, we'll take my sidearms up here. It's just pretty much a jump putt, easy 3. I definitely probably can reach it if I want to, if there's no wind. I could probably throw a forehand up to the basket. But for now, I'll just throw a layup and then pitch up for an easy 3. I got it. So yeah, I mean, as you can see, I went OB here. If I were to play in a tournament, I'd still have to make a 45-foot uphill putt. And I didn't throw that bad of a shot. I was only 20 feet off, almost inside the circle. So that just tells you how tight this and narrow this hole is. Yeah, like I said, this is kind of like a bonus birdie. The other thing you want to think about when you're playing a hole like this is your sweet spot landing zone is going to be on the safe side of the green, about 30, 40 feet. So if you're planning on having this putt and there's a 20 mile an hour headwind, and you think you can make that, which You know, it looks easy right now when there's no wind, but you add a 20-mile-an-hour headwind, it's a whole different ball game. I mean, this is a great drive. And I still might lay this up if it's windy enough. So that's just the strategy going through my head. Is if you throw a drive into a good spot and you don't think you're gonna go for the putt, there's no reason to go for the drive in the first place and take on that risk. Just take on the easy par like I'm gonna do. And over a 3-round tournament, those percentages will add up. Yeah, someone might birdie it once or twice, but they're also probably gonna bogey it if they're being hyper aggressive like that. All right, hole 6, 555-foot par 4. It's downhill. We got a right to left slope, and we got lots of OB, lots of trees. I think it's super important to hit the angle with the roller. I'm gonna throw a roller, but the natural tendency is this hill is gonna wanna push it left. So you gotta kind of counter it with more angle. So that way when it hits the hill straightens it up and then flips it at the end if you throw a flippy enough disc. So I'm gonna throw a vandal. That seems to fit this roller line for me really well. And I just really want to cut this right side on the tree line, because if I cut that tree line, the hill's going to take it left, and then at the end it's going to take it back into the middle. So let's try a roller here. So that one's pretty much gold. So that's going to be a little bit on the right hand side, but it's going to be in a good spot. I'm going to throw a couple forehands as well. Kind of want to start the forehand along this left tree line and hyzer back towards the right hand side. So just like that, that's really good. So that's a good shot. So it's just one of those 2 shots is what I'm gonna be doing. So this roller, I kept it on this severe angle so that way it countered the hill that we're on, because there's a severe hill and slope like you saw off the tee. So I definitely made sure to do that. And this is a great spot. This is a really good spot. I'm gonna go ahead and throw a forehand just because it kind of fits this gap. I guess I could throw a backhand, but I just want to take that one tree out there out of the way. So if I throw a forehand, it's gonna be turning right in front of that, so I don't have to worry about hitting that, which I might have to with a backhand approach. So that one's good. I almost hit the camera guy, but there's wooden blocks that stop you from going OB. So as long as you hit safe, you're not going to go OB too often. So I'm going to try one more. Oh, right over top of it. So good shot on both of those, and should be an easy birdie if I throw in that spot. I'm going to go try to throw a couple from my forehand shot as well. Yeah, you can see I got a little bit tighter of a gap. So this is a tough shot because you really have to hit the gap. And you want to throw it hard to hit the gap, but you also don't want to go long. So it's a speed control and a gap shot. So it makes it a little bit more harder. So you saw I just kind of throw a nose up, stall shot. So that way once it got there, hit the gap and kind of fell back onto the green. So this looks like where a lot of my shots are. And if you see this wooden post, this first one kind of slid and hit that and just stopped. So you don't have to worry about skipping over as long as you throw it soft enough. If you air over the wood, that's where you have a problem. So we got the 3 here. And this is a very common spot to land because you don't want to land short. You want to just definitely give yourself a chance to go long and make the green. So yeah, I think most of the challenge is it's a short par 4, and you can definitely throw a roller and almost get a birdie, eagle putt at it, but also there's enough trees and all this OB protects the pin that makes it a pretty rewarding birdie as well. All right, we got hole 7, 484-foot par 4, pretty much a dogleg right the entire way. And it's only 484 feet, but it's uphill the entire way. So it plays more like 550 or 600 feet. And we got OB short right off the tee. So if you hit a tree, you're pretty likely gonna drop out of bounds and be scrambling for a par. But yeah, I'm gonna try to throw through the gap with a nice controlled forehand with the Lucid Ice Criminals. I think that's a good speed for this gap and this angle. And yeah, it's gonna put you on kind of an upslope on the second shot. But yeah, first shot, you just really wanna focus on the first shot, hitting this narrow gap here. So that's it. So it's all, the reaction up there is kind of random because there's a lot of rocks and roots, but you just got to put yourself in position to hit the gap, and then whatever happens after that happens. So it looks like I caught one of those last guardian trees. I'm gonna throw one more. I'm gonna throw a lucid glimmer. Whoops, got a little chunk of mud on there. Last time I threw it. But lucid glimmer felon. There we go, that's good. I threw that nice and high, so I challenged the limbs high, so I got up over that initial upslope. So it's gonna give me a flatter lie than the first one I threw. All right, this is a great drive. So I landed on top shelf. A lot of times it's hard to get up past this upslope. And if you do land on the upslope, it's a tricky lie. I got the luxury where I can throw a standstill shot because I don't have the upslope to deal with. And I'm gonna throw just a nice smooth BT harp, just on that nice Annie flex line. And I'm gonna just focus on hitting this angle uphill. I'm gonna throw a flippier harp than normal because it's uphill and it's gonna wanna naturally hyzer out, so I gotta counter that by throwing a little bit flippier. So, here we go. Oh, I caught one of the last trees, but overall I hit the gap pretty nicely and hit a nice line angle on it. This one I'm gonna turn a little bit more. That's way better. So you can see that one, I just kind of trusted it a little bit more to the left-hand side and flexed it up there. I'm gonna try one more as well. I'm gonna throw this shot, this felon, which is even better. I'm gonna throw a similar shot. And the second shot on this one's almost always a forehand for forehand players because it just seems like the angle's so much easier to hit with the forehand. There we go, yeah. So that's pretty good. Yep. And it's as you saw at the end, it naturally hyzered out. That one's one of my more stable harps. So going uphill, if you're throwing already a stable disc, it's gonna be even more stable at the end like you saw that. So stability on uphill shots is the most important tip when you're selecting a disc. This first one, clipped a tree coming into the basket. Still a great shot. There we go, still got the 3. 2 threes. 3 times where it's luck, you know? There you go, it's not luck. All right, hole 8, par 5, 576. As you're noticing, the lengths of these holes aren't the longest, but they have tricky angles on the first, second, and sometimes third shots that make them that much more challenging. So this par 5 is like an Annie flex. It's pretty much the only shot that majority of the shots you'll see. And you just want to take a not super overstable disc, but a disc you know can hold that left hand turn the whole way to get yourself a chance to, get an eagle look. We want to get an eagle look. Birdies are good, but eagles are better. And this is definitely an eagleable par 5 that you want to get in position off on the drive. I'm going to throw a couple silver lot rives. And for a hole like this, I'm gonna kind of use the corner of this tee pad because I don't want to use, if I come over here, if you notice, I don't have much of an angle around this corner. But if I come over here, I open up this angle as much as possible and then I swing my arm way out here and I have the bigger angle than if I were to use the left-hand corner of the tee pad. So I'm gonna use this corner, step into the corner, and then fire my shot to give myself the biggest angle into this fairway. Oh. So it looks like I caught the very edge of that tree. I thought I was around it, but I'm gonna try one more. See if I can't get one into position to give myself a look for a eagle. Oh, too much. So that one was just released a little early. I'm gonna throw one more here. Oh, I caught that last tree again. So you can see that last tree kind of hangs over and it's got me both times. So you can see it kind of hangs over, but you really want to cut close to it to get around that corner. So that's what makes this hole so hard, is that severe angle to the left. because you can't really cut it too much wider because then you'll hit the wide trees on the right side. So I'm just clipping this tiny tree right here on the corner, just barely clipping it. And if I miss that, I'm all the way up there into that nice landing zone. But looks like I'm gonna have to scramble instead, which is okay, because I mean, you're not gonna pier this gap every time. So when you don't, you gotta be prepared to scramble and try to save your 4. All right, so yeah, like I said, I didn't quite hit this gap. That's okay though. I like actually practicing scrambling. That's something a lot of people don't do, is they don't practice scrambling because they want to be in position. Of course, I want to be in position all the time too, but it doesn't happen that way. So I'm just going to throw pretty much a straight ahead, not a super far shot, just nice and straight with a harp, about 200 feet or so. So yeah, something just like that. So keep it in the middle. Now I have a pretty good, nice little forehand chip to the basket. I'm out of position, I accept that. Just play to point A to point B, still get your birdie. You're not getting an eagle, but still it's a birdie on a par 5, it's a good score. It's not a gimme shot, but it's a good about 150, 200 foot approach with kind of a slammer. So just like that, very happy with that shot. So now I'm gonna be able to hopefully just get a tap in birdie and not make a mess of my bad tee shot, just taking my medicine. And even sometimes taking your medicine still means getting a birdie, like on a par 5 like this. So there we go. We saved the, we saved the birdie from that spot. And we didn't have to, like I said, that's the beauty of Idlewild here. You don't, and once you get out of position, you don't want to force your way back into position. Just take what you got, play for that next landing zone, and try to save that par birdie, kind of like Northwoods. If you get aggressive out of position too much, you're gonna get punished and get bogeys and doubles. All right, hole 9, we got a 258 foot par 3, got a downslope all the way to the basket, and then even after the basket, it's a pretty heavy downslope. So you're gonna hit the gap. It's lead a hyzer flip putter shot. I'm gonna go with a nice forehand soft harp. I might even go with like a nice smooth standstill shot. I just feel more comfortable with that. You got kind of a small-ish gap. So that looks really good. So I got a nice skip. Yeah, that should be about 20 footer. Trying to throw a little hyzer flip kind of harp now. A little bit flippier disc, a little bit more hyzer. See how that one kind of came out a little bit. Okay, so I got eaten up by the grass a little bit, but I kind of felt like that one's gonna not skip as far down the hill, whereas that more stable one's gonna wanna skip and kind of go away from the basket. All right, so this is where my first one went. Hyzered a little bit, but not too bad. This long grass kind of keeps it from hyzering and skipping too much. Make a couple putts from here. All right, so there you guys have it. That's the front 9 out here at Idlewild. Be sure to stay tuned, check out the back 9, and we'll get into the most wooded holes yet.